Last week on Legal Talk with Hahn and Hahn Attorneys, we spoke about the Competition Commission's online intermediation platform's market inquiry and what it is exactly. Jaco Hamman joined us and is joining us again today to talk about the effects on these companies: Google, Takealot, Booking.com, the App Stores and the Google Play Store. Jaco, thank you as always for joining us.
Good morning, Ian. Yeah, thank you. Nice being back so quickly.
Yes, indeed. Listen, Jaco, what is the effect on these companies? Last week we spoke about what's happening. Maybe can you just do a quick recap on what is happening?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So the Competition Commission had its very first of these types of market inquiries, where they looked at these online intermediation platforms. Now, that's a platform that us as consumer use to get goods or services. Now, Google is, of course, the most known one of all. And then you've got places like Takealot, where you can buy anything from food to toothbrushes. And then you've got specific areas or portions of the economy, like, for argument's sake, if you want to book a stay in a hotel, then you use Booking.com. Or if you want to buy a car, then you'll look at cars.co.za, or for properties, Property24, or that sort of thing. Now, this is the market inquiry that the Competition Commission did. They engaged with the public and with various stakeholders, and they've now came out with their report, and they've got certain remedial actions. Now, last week, you'll remember we focused on the food delivery platforms, which was Mr. D and Uber Eats.
Yes.
And this week we're gonna look at what they say about Google specifically, and then at the travel and accommodation through Booking.com. And then we'll look at your e-commerce, which is, of course, your Takealot. And then we will speak about your software applications like your Appstore and Google Play Store. And then we'll look at your online classifieds like your Auto Trader and Cars.co.za and Property24 and private property. Now, before we go into the details of each and every one of these areas, like the Competition Commission said when they had their media briefing, technically they could have had a market inquiry into each one of these sort of different divisions, if you'd like. So extensive is the work. And the second thing that I asked myself the question initially when I thought about this market inquiry is about how are you going to impose your penalties, and is it even applicable to a company like Google or Apple? Now, the Competition Act is clear to say that it is applicable if a company does business in South Africa. Now, of course, I'm not quoting the Act verbatim, but that's in general what it says. So, and if you think about it, Google does a lot of work in South Africa, and the App Store does a lot of work in South Africa. I mean, we've got 45 million people. So if Google, for argument's sake, doesn't want to adhere to these remedial actions, and let me just say that after the publishing of it, they have 20 business days to appeal this and to say that they're not happy with these remedial action. But let's say they don't appeal it, but they now decide not to adhere to. The Competition Commission can fine them up to 10% of their let's call it the turnover for their business in South Africa. So so it's quite vast, but it is going to be a very interesting thing to see what happens if these guys want to play ball, and if not, what the Competition Commission is doing. Bearing in mind that in Europe, they had a similar inquiry, and there was in certain instances similar remedial action that the authorities required from places like Google and Booking.com to adhere to, and there in fact they did. So yeah, so it's interesting times that we live in. Now, pertaining to Google, the inquiry found that Google, of course, has a search dominance, and that their business model distorts platform competition as small and new platforms struggle for visibility and customer acquisition. Now, for anybody who's got a website and you want to be on the first page of a Google search, you'll know how difficult that is to be on there. And this is in essence just what the Competition Commission found, but now, of course, specifically in relation to platforms. So let's say, for argument's sake, I've now got a company and I advertise, same as Booking.com, to say you can go through me to have a holiday in Cape Town and that. Now, for me as now an up-and-coming, or rather, let's call it my new platform, I'm going to struggle for visibility on that. Now, what the Commission has found is that organics results that Google must introduce a new platform to display smaller South African platforms relevant to the search. So in other words, what they want Google to do is that if you open up Google, there must be a separate thing that I can go to and say, oh, okay, accommodation in South Africa. And then that, let's call it more, just for a lack of a better word, and for your listeners also to understand a bit better, that now is a separate section on the page where you can see, oh, okay, this is South African companies which I can use, as opposed to just Booking.com, for argument's sake, coming on. Then they found as well, and they require that Google must provide 180 million rand in advertising credits for small platforms to use in their customer acquisition. Yes, along with free training to optimize that advertising campaigns. And then they went further. They said that Google must also provide 150 million rand in training, product support, and other measures for SMEs and black-owned online firms. And this, of course, is to offset the competitive disadvantages faced on the Google search. So yeah, I mean, it's quite hectic. And then what the inquiry also found is to say what Google is doing, they're preferring their own shopping and travel units on their result pages, and that distorts competition. And therefore they say that they need to stop doing that, stop giving preference to their own other companies as opposed to other guys. Yeah, so it's interesting to see. It will be interesting to see what Google does with this. Do they appeal it? Do they adhere? So yeah, we'll watch that space.
No, that's quite hectic. That's quite a big ask from them, for Google especially, to invest all that money in that.
Yes.
That's a lot of money.
No, it is, and that's why I'm saying it will be very interesting to see how they take on this. Are they going to comply and say yes, we are going to play ball and we understand? Because the reality is that is the effect. Because if you're a Booking.com, I mean, you've got the money, and now the competition between Booking.com and, let's say, Jaco's Travels, whatever the case may be. If I've got a similar platform, I mean, it's very difficult to get there. So yeah, so now it'll be interesting. Just for the record, Jaco the attorney isn't planning on becoming Jaco the travel agent platform. I
was going to say,
I'll leave.
You need a new name, Jaco's Travel. It's not going to work.
That's why I'm sticking to being a lawyer.
No, stick to it. Yeah.
So then on the travel and accommodation, they found that Booking.com is the leading platform in travel in South Africa. And then what they found is that Booking.com imposes what they call a wide price parity, which is conditions on hotels and other establishments, which require them to offer room prices to Booking.com that are not less favorable than the room prices offered to other online travel agents. So, for argument's sake, if I can use the bad example again of Jaco's Travel, and Ion, you now have a guest house, then if you want to book on booking.com and your price on booking.com is 500 Rand, then your price on Jaco's Travel also has to be 500 Rand. So we call that wide price parity conditions. So, it's already widely regarded that these wide price parity clauses is a restraint and is bad competition, if I can put it as bluntly as that. And what they're saying is that booking.com has to stop it immediately. Now, interesting is that in the European Union, Booking.com has removed those clauses from their contracts, but not in South Africa. Now, another thing that they found what Booking.com does is what they call narrow price parity. Now, if we take again your guest house now, Ion, and you are then, if you want to book on Booking.com and you say 500 Rand, if you're not allowed to advertise or book out your room at an amount less than 500 Rand. Now, the problem with that is if I'm a consumer and it's convenient for me to book through booking.com, why would I then book directly with you if I'm going to pay the same price? But now, of course, the effect thereof is that although I, as the consumer, pay the same price, you don't get in your pocket the same price. And the reason, because you still have to pay a commission to Booking.com. And the problem with that is that Booking.com just gets, and similar platforms, but they just get stronger, and the independent guest house aren't able to build on its own brand marketing and become sort of self-sufficient without relying on Booking.com. So they've stopped that as well. They said you need to stop that, and you need to tell all the hotels and other platforms that you have in fact stopped that. Then the inquiry further found that Booking.com has a lack of diversification when it comes to black communities. And they said to address that distortion, they require Booking.com to put in place substantial programs to provide funding of initiatives in the identification, onboarding, promotion, and growth of SMEs that are of course, black-owned and or in black communities in the Booking.com platform. So they need to go and assist them. Now, this one is a bit wider than the remedial actions on Google, but I think especially pertaining to the price parity clause, it's going to make a huge difference to not only the guest houses, but us as consumers as well, because now there's competition. So if Booking.com no longer can decide they've got a whatever price they are, and you've got the independent guy charging less, then they'll probably start looking at lowering their fees and then lowering the prices and that sort of thing that we as consumers have to pay. Then if we look at the e-commerce, Takealot. Now, for us South Africans, I mean, Google is one thing, we see it as the big brother, and Booking.com, but Takealot is our very own sort of success story, if you like. But what the Competition Commission has found is that Takealot also imposed this narrow price parity clauses. And if you think about it, it does exactly the same thing pertaining to commission. So I'm, for argument's sake, now a shop that sells skateboards. Now, if I want to sell the skateboard on Takealot, I can, but that skateboard has to be at the same price with Takealot, i.e., let's say 1,000 Rand for argument's sake, and 1,000 Rand at my shop. But now, why would people then go directly to my website if they can go through Takealot and it's a lot easier? So same thing, they have to remove it. And then I remember a couple of years ago, when I went into Takealot and I searched for a product and I searched for priced low to high, it would actually give me the prices from lowest to highest. But I don't see that anymore, and neither did the Competition Commission.
Ooh.
So what they've said is that they have to. I didn't say they have to bring it back. They just said they have to have that, to say that it doesn't matter on how quickly the product can come to you or the availability. They must list it according to the prices. And another thing that they found is that Takealot has its own brands that they are selling as well, as opposed to they're not only selling other people's products. And they want those two to be split between the one, so that you can clearly see this is Takealot products, and you can clearly see which is other people's brands that or products that they are selling through them. And Takealot is not allowed to use the information that they gain from their, and I will call it as it is, their competitors. They're not allowed to use that information because, of course, they now get information about how much is the person selling, what's the price that they are selling, and then they can use it for their own products. And the Competition Commission says, no, that has to stop as well. Then on the App Store and the Google Play Store, in short, what the Competition Commission found is that the challenge that we have as South African, let's call it more developers and sellers of apps, is visibility. Like anything, well, like everything actually, when you look at it from a Google and all these things, it's about visibility. Can somebody see your app? Now, they require Google and Apple to create a similar sort of platform, if you'd like, not really platform, but within which you will then see, but this is the South African apps that you can download. So you sort of have a tab to say, oh, okay, this is all the South African apps. Then we can go local is lekker, look at the apps that the South Africans has developed, and then download that. And then what they've found is that Google and the App Store, in majority of instances, they don't allow somebody to direct the traffic from the App Store in order to do in-app purchase and that sort of thing to the company's website. And they said that needs to stop. It's one thing for me to download an app of, let's say, for argument's sake, what can I now think about? Let's say it's a cell phone that's now not Google or but let's say Samsung. Just use Samsung for an example for the moment. So now I buy a Samsung app. Now there's in-app purchases. You can't from that app. They don't allow you to, from that app, to go to Samsung's website, so that any further purchases can be done directly through Samsung's website. You have to do it through the App Store or Google Play Store. And what they're saying is that that has to stop. And then lastly, on the online classifieds. Now, this is your, like we said, your Auto Trader and cars.co.za and Property24 and private property. Now, in essence, briefly, what is happening is that the price you pay for a listing on these guys, if you are a big second-hand car salesman and you've got, for argument's sake, 50 listings on cars.co.za or Auto Trader, or you're a big estate agent and you've got all these listings, then per listing you pay a lot less. They talk about, in certain instances, up to something like 300%, that one can pay less than somebody who's got, for argument's sake, only 5 cars they list. Now, the Competition Commission had a problem with that and say no, that what they need to do is they need to be more or less in line with one another between a 15% differentiation, so that it doesn't make it that difficult for the smaller guys to advertise on these platforms. So yeah, that's basically the gist of it, Ian. I did now all the talking this morning, so yeah, apologies for that, but that's in any event the gist of it. And like I said, it's interesting times. This was the first market inquiry, so now we will need to see what your Google and Apple and the like, what they do with it. So yeah, the time is running out, because it was, although it was launched on the 31st, the notification was published on the 28th. So yeah, they've got 20 days, which is in essence 4 weeks from them to file the appeal. So we'll keep a lookout, and then one can inform your listeners again if what's happening in the market.
Excellent. Jaco, thank you so much. Of course you did all the talking. You have all the knowledge. I'm just listening along with the listeners. But yes, well done. That's a nice report. And now we know exactly what's going on, and it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen in the next month or two.
No, for sure. No, it's a pleasure. I'm always nice talking to you.
Likewise. Jaco, thank you so much.
Are you or your business in trouble and struggling to find a solution? Call Hahn and Hahn Attorneys, as we assist clients in finding solutions. We specialize in consumer and food law, commercial and construction law, forensic investigations, and administrative law. Visit hahnlaw.co.za. That's HAHN. We assist clients nationwide. Hahn and Hahn Attorneys, because we care. Don't miss Legal Talk with Hahn and Hahn Attorneys, Wednesday mornings at 10 on eRadio.